Um, so yeah, this is going to be episode 2 of Death of the Roguelike, which was not really the title I was working with at the time because I really hadn't written anything about what I was intending to do or what I was hoping to do with this project beyond prepare for a panel for the Canadian Game Studies Association conference in May. Um, I'll, I still haven't heard back on the approval of that panel, but I've got strong feelings about the roguelike as a genre, so and part of that comes from reading a few debates that are going on online. Tanya Short over at Gamma Sutra posted a blog post basically saying we should start looking for a replacement for roguelikes. Sorry, there's stuff going on in the chat there. Okay. It seems to be working on my end, so... oh god. Right. Assuming that's loading. There we go. Alright. Ah, okay. Yes. Thanks for confirming that. Um, yeah, so I'm still getting used to the whole Twitch streaming delay stuff. Um, so part of this is coming from some articles that Tanya Short posted. It's basically saying we should stop using the term roguelike to refer to um, like basically games that make use of procedurally generated levels. I'm still getting a there we go. Procedurally generated levels and permadeath, so your progress resets at the end, or I'd actually argue like non-trivial or like highly putative consequences for dying. So, anyways, part of this is inspired by Austin Walker's really phenomenal write-up of Receiver over at Clockwork Worlds sometime late last year, where he basically talks about like whenever someone talks about Receiver, it's typically in terms of it's really weird game control, or yeah, basically it's gun mechanics. Um, so this was part of the 7 day roguelike, or it's not 7 day roguelike, 7 day first person shooter competition a couple years back. And basically, what they did was they came up with very highly complicated ways of manipulating your weapon. So every time you start the game, it's a completely random world that you've started. The pieces are kind of modular, and you'll see recurring parts of architecture, but every single time you start, completely new layout. You're looking around for cassette tapes. It's very much like Slender Man in terms of you have this MacGuffin you have to stalk around, and there are enemies out there, except that you're not getting pursued by one terrifying monstrosity that doesn't seem affected by the environment. And they also you actually have a way to defend yourself in this game. So every time you actually start with a completely different weapon every time. I've pulled up the controls because I'm still not super great at this, but if you press the question mark button, you get your basic look for mouse look, and then the WASD for move. Jump is space. If you pick up anything that's nearby, you can hold G. So I just picked up several bullets. If I want to aim down the iron sights, it's just the right mouse button. But you also have to like make sure you've chambered around. So at a certain point, you can probably remove this stuff, or remove the instructions. But currently, you need to kind of be aware of what you need to do. So I can toggle full automatic. I can eject the magazine by pressing E. Looking at the clip there, I have one in my inventory, which is down in the lower left corner. But I should probably... okay. So, I need to holster my weapon by tapping tilde, and now I can start putting bullets in the magazine. Which I will do. And then I draw the weapon again, and then I insert the magazine, and I can tap Q, and it's just basically, rather than hold down the right mouse button to use the iron sights, I can just it just binds to my mouse. So wherever I'm moving my mouse, that's where the gun is aiming. And part of what's, I mean, obviously the game looks pretty rough. It was done in, a week with a bit of extra time to polish it up and get it ready for Steam. I really hope that they kind of build on this a little bit because it's built in Unity, so it's not super great in terms of frame rate. Also, it's not really a looker, but I find that actually adds to the kind of ambiance. It's a very weird sort of world. Okay, so that right there was basically a stationary turret. I don't know if you're necessarily able to see it, but there's a moving circle of blue light that's basically its attention. And each of these enemies, there's this, and there's a like kind of floating taser construct that will chase you down. So you're extremely fragile in this game. That's where I've not completed this game because it's really hard to get anywhere and not die. I think... Okay, let me see if I can peek around the corner and get it. Oh. I don't think so. There we go. So, if I recall correctly, you need to basically hit it about kind of in the middle. And if you don't, it will... Oh, there we go. So we have in this window, you have that view of that little floating taser enemy. And those kind of come at you at different weird angles. So it's this weird tension because almost everything that I've read about it, aside from Austin's really great write-up, everyone just focuses on the guns because that's kind of the big mechanic in Receiver. So you'll sometimes start with a revolver, you'll sometimes start with like a semi-automatic, or you'll start with like, I don't know, I'm not great at my gun lore, so I don't know the actual names of them, but that was actually not too bad. But alright, I have no idea how many bullets are currently in my clip. So, let's eject the magazine. And why don't I put the magazine in my inventory? Press 2 to pull out the other magazine. Draw my weapon. Insert the magazine. And I would imagine I still have a bullet in the chamber from the last clip. So we haven't found any yet, and I suspect I may die before I find any. Oh boy. So it's interesting because on the one hand you have this intense kind of fetishization of the weapon. Oh god. Okay. Well, this is going to be real short, I think. Yeah. So you're extremely fragile, and everything that I'd picked up until that point, which I didn't really make it very far. So there we go. Now I have a flashlight. I have actually started with a flashlight. Let's pull up the... Aim the weapon. So you can run, but if you run, you actually have to tap the W key to move forward, and you can't do it, if I recall correctly, you can't do it with the gun aimed. So it's a little bit interesting in that regard. Oops. Okay. I didn't really want to do that, but okay. All right. So I haven't found any of the tapes yet. Sometimes those are really easy to come by. Again, like you can see, these are really bare bones kind of environments. And on one hand, you could kind of criticize them for not catering to that sort of hyper-realism, even though they're catering to it with the way that the gun controls are designed. Uh, it kind of evokes, I don't know, if you've read, I think it's Doru by William Gibson. He talks about like a city that had taken a great deal of damage from a massive earthquake. And it was around the time that sort of nanotechnology had sort of become, it was just entering the public consciousness. And so they rather than pay all of this money to rebuild these structures, they relied on it was kind of the first instance of nanotechnology being used to build something. And so the description was that these buildings just looked alienating and unsettling, and so kind of like left this sort of psychic wound on the city that really never would heal, because it had kind of become inhuman to people. Oh, okay. Oh, I for some reason. Okay. So I apparently hit something that made me pull out and then throw my magazine on the ground. Let's holster my weapon and fill this clip up. Draw the weapon. So it's a very kind of alienating experience to kind of go through this. And I like that all of the... Oops. Oh, right. I guess I did not. For all of the preparation, like as you kind of start to feel more powerful, as you understand the complex gun controls. I'm surprised I'm alive at that point. You're still always vulnerable. Something that, great. I've run out of... Alright. This is also going to be a very short run. Okay. Uh-oh. Alright, well, let's just do this. I'm sure I could probably scour around and try to find proper ammunition, but I also wanted to just see other gun types. Oh, there we go. So I just picked up I thought I picked up... There we go. Yeah, the problem with doing something that's not, if I'm going to talk about roguelikes, and try to also play them, the problem with doing something like this that's not necessarily like a turn-based sort of thing is I have to focus on playing the game as well as kind of try to be somewhat coherent and talk about this stuff. So I'm probably gonna die a lot in this. I thought about doing teleglitch earlier, but I'd like, even when I'm intently focused on that game, I die very, very quickly. Even though it is probably one of the more fascinating roguelikes I've played recently. So again, every time you die, you not only lose all of your progress, and I think you need to pick up 11 tapes, and I've barely found one yet, and you need to absorb it, so you need to listen to the full tape. So the amount of knowledge that you need to sort of have to continue on in this game is kind of profound. Like, you need all of the different gun controls need to be more or less second nature, and even then you still need to understand how to approach these different enemies. And ultimately, and probably one of my favorite features about this is if you catch like a stray bullet from one of the turrets, you can still move for a couple steps before you collapse. And this kind of links back to what I've written about before about Brogue, with its use of like kind of relying a bit on the like, playing with the spectacle of death, which comes out a lot in something like Dark Souls, or you know if you play like Fallout, they make a great effort to situate player death as, on the one hand, this spectacle to kind of help you deal with it, like just okay, here's some really cool action-packed footage, and then reload this state as though you'd not died in the first place. So the way roguelikes tend to handle that stuff is very interesting to me, because this is not a non-trivial death. You're not reloading it and starting again. You're starting again from scratch, and kind of going back into this sort of hostile labyrinth type thing that isn't really completely knowable, because it's not like it's repeatable. It's not like it's the same level every single time, and sometimes you'll just have a really, some shitty luck. So, anyways, that's kind of the crux of the interest for me. And also what I find interesting is, even though you become kind of intimately familiar with the gun, there's always this, it's also in a randomized state every time you get it. So every time you start, your weapon is like, in this case, for example, I have the slide lock on. Yeah, so it's got a clip in there. I've got I keep dropping it on the ground. There we go. So I just got another tape, and I realize by not interrupting the tapes, I'm being profoundly stereotypically Canadian, but this guy seems like he has some pretty dire information to communicate. Oh shit. So if it's not already clear, the the general story for this game is kind of cyberpunk nonsense. There's a lot of weird compound words that don't really seem to mean anything, and it's really, for me, I feel like it's the voice actor that kind of pulls it off. I guess I can't pick up a second flashlight, even though that one's silver. I've not actually noticed if it was a different colored flashlight or not. So I probably won't have as much to say about this game as I would others, but I really highly, I'll put it in the show notes, Austin's Austin's write-up, because it's really it's worth a look. So I am sitting on a whole lot of bullets, and I keep dropping that damn magazine. Whoop. I'm not sure if this game would benefit from a better interface or anything like that. I kind of like that it's weird. Like, I feel like it would be interesting if there were further things in the world, as there, I guess, you know, as video gamers, I guess there's that inborn idea that everything's better with more stuff. We always want our games to have more things, which is not necessarily the case. I mean, last week I talked about Brogue, and they took a game that is basically the same kind of genre as NetHack, and then carefully excised a lot of the weird stuff that NetHack had. Oh God, yep, there we go. The NetHack had added this agglomeration of feature creep over 20 years, and then removed it and made a better game as a result. I mean, there were other things like a more UI, but I feel like in this current state, like it's pretty like it's straightforward for what it needs to do. It's a very I don't want to say pure, but it's an alienating experience, but I feel like it works. I feel like that's what they were going for, and I feel like it works as a result. And I was having this conversation with someone on Twitter, and unfortunately their name eludes me offhand, and they were arguing that the Demon's Souls is inherently a more coherent sort of statement, if you want to say that, because it was very much, it had a lot of like Faustian allegory where you were it was very clearly using that as a cultural and like narrative touchstone. So that's why you were collecting souls, and that's why, you know, that hunger for souls was sort of this corrupting influence, especially in the late game stuff, and the way that the endings kind of played out. Some of the narrative justifications were a lot more clear, and that sort of got a bit muddied with Dark Souls, because you didn't really understand why souls were currency or any of that other stuff. It was not as clearly defined, but it also had, I feel like, a lot more going on in terms of, especially in terms of its online play, when they started introducing the covenants and just really how obtuse it was to join certain covenants and get different items. And so I guess it was, I'm not saying that Demon's Souls is necessarily better than Dark Souls. I think I probably enjoyed my time with Dark Souls a little bit more, but there's something to be said about sort of rhetorical clarity of what you're trying to say here. So, you know, if there does wind up being a Receiver 2, I'm certainly not going to say no to it, and I'm kind of wandering in circles here, which I'm sure is profoundly entertaining for people. But I don't know what you come to a Receiver stream for. Oop. Okay. So the revolver is interesting because that's why. So you have to extract the casings, but then it drops like it drops other bullets that you can then put back in. So when you extract the casings and you haven't... Oh, Jesus Christ! I thought it was dead. Why did it not respond? Alright. I guess you can wound it so that it doesn't turn anymore, but it will still shoot. Oh God. I have to start really conserving... Oh, never mind. And I can see some, like, sort of Sisyphean thematics here where... Like, they're aware that there's not much there, but they're also advocating that people play the game several times. I like... It's in one of those moments where the words don't necessarily make any sense, but the sentiment really kind of adds to it. Are I don't... Okay, that's still... Yeah. Alright, well, you're not turning anymore, so I'm just gonna get the hell away from you because I have no bullets. Oh, jeez! Okay. Oh my god. Okay. So, this is kind of what happens with Receiver when you... when you're not really conserving ammo. You kind of hit these moments where you're just desperately hoping you come across some ammunition, which can be, I'm sure, sort of dull to watch. But I guess on the upside, I'll probably die fairly soon. Alright, I'm gonna... Okay. Yep. Wait. That was something else. You there. Okay. Yeah, it will still shoot. Alright. Let's extract the casings. Yeah, there's no ammo. Alright, well... Oh god! Yeah, there we go. Death by tripod. Or quadrupod, I guess. There's 4 legs on those things. So yeah, it's... There's not as much to say about this as, say, Rogue. The other week... Oh, okay, I should probably... Great. Okay. I'm going to put that magazine in my inventory. Insert it. Oh, shit. Well, that was bracing. Eject magazine. I did play a stupendous amount of this game over the summer, and then actually did get more than one tape and a go. It's just been a while since I played it. He says hopefully hoping that you'll buy this argument that I'm not just really bad at this game and just want to talk about it. But it's tough. It's I want to say it's $4.99 on Steam, or it was part of a bundle at some point. I'm sure next Steam sale, if it winds up seeing a sale, like you'll find it for pretty cheap, if that's a thing you want to do. All right. It's a neat kind of thought experiment, I guess, and it definitely slots in with some of the earmarks of kind of blending sort of what we've been referring to as sort of roguelike design with other genres. So you have the, Spelunky doing platforming and roguelike stuff, and obviously having Spelunky kind of leans much harder into the obtuse mechanics, trying to find the secret boss and all that other stuff that they kind of have in place. Okay. One time I opened up my revolver and it was full of spent casings, which is such a weird kind of way to start the game. But it's fascinating because it almost evokes a sort of storyline. Like, why am I suddenly controlling this character who's clearly had some time with this gun before I did? And I don't know. It's a very strange experience, and I guess that's kind of what I keep coming back to. The sort of Blade Runner-esque soundtrack sort of contributes to that. It doesn't offer a lot. It's just sort of this sense of kind of intrigue. I don't know. It's not a feature-rich game necessarily, which is not necessarily what you expect when you hear the term roguelike. I mean, if you look at Spelunky, yeah, you could say it's just a platformer, but there's so much going on under the hood that you're kind of having this constant sense of discovery. And if you're on the fence on playing Spelunky, by the way, there is a resource out there to play like the original PC version that's free. Like, that's still, if you search for like the original Spelunky, it doesn't have the online leaderboard stuff, or it's pixel art and isn't necessarily HD or any of that fun stuff. But if you're looking for just getting a sampling to see if that's a thing you'd like to play, it's pretty good. I don't know if I'll necessarily stream Spelunky. I feel like that game's getting a fair bit of its share of attention, but maybe I'll get around to that at some point. I need to get better at, I think. Oh God, damn it! Yep, great, perfect. Oh. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm probably call it there. There's not really a lot more I can say about this. For now, at least, I'll probably wind up writing a more formalized thing in which I'll say a lot more, hopefully intelligent things than I probably have been for the past 40 minutes or so. But yeah, that's Spelunky. Yeah, if you have any questions, it's robotparking.tumblr.com. It's currently where my website is. I probably will need to get actual web space at some point in the next month or so. So that might change, but it'll probably be just transferring that blog over. Yeah, there's an Ask Me a Thing link there if you have any specific questions about this, or you want to just tell me I'm really bad at playing receiver, which is absolutely true, or I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to roguelikes. Well, it's probably not true, but I'm sure people are fine telling me that at some point. I look forward to that day where someone starts coming at me rather than I'm just going around looking for fights with roguelike enthusiasts. But yeah, that's it. I'll probably wind up getting someone else in. I've got a couple people on the line. I just need to figure that stuff out, and I just upgraded my XSplit account, so I wanted to give that a run, get a sense of how that works so that I'm not fumbling around with that technical aspect on top of, getting someone to Skype in or something like that. So yeah, thanks for watching if you've sat here and watched it. Thanks for, I don't know, watching me die a lot. Anyways.